Blues View.
Coach Bleau, welcome back to Blues Views. Thanks for your time. I know it's a very busy schedule that you have, so appreciate you joining us today. So when we last spoke, you were 5-0, and since then you've broken the record for the most consecutive wins, the fastest team to reach the playoffs. You're 11-0 with 41 goals and 3 conceded. What's pleased you most about the team's progress over the last 6 games and over the start of the season?
I think some of the adversity we went through that we kind of got by was big over the last couple of weeks. To be honest, playing a man down and losing a player for one of our best players for a couple of games, and we overcame that, and and really stepped up as a team overall.
How did you adjust the team? You lost Max. It was very controversial. Still can't quite see how it happened. But how did you? At half time, you obviously got them together, rallied them. How did you sort of approach that with the guys?
Well, once we went in halftime, we got a plan together. Coach Matt and I did, and then I went over and was like, I'm not figuring out how we're going to tie this game. I'm figuring out how we're going to win the game. And that was the message right when I came over. I knew Owen Tank had a great save, in that PK. So I said that right away, knowing that would get the kids going. And they go, we're winning this game. We're coming out to win this half. We're not coming out to try to tie this game. We're going to beat them with 10 men. And that was the message I sent right away. That I had confidence in that we could beat them with 10 men. And I think they carried that right out to the pitch for sure.
I mean, they were on the front foot for most of the second half and could have had more goals, but then obviously at the end it was sort of sitting back and game management. But they hit the bar. But other than that, I think you handled it pretty well, considering you're a man down.
We outplayed them for all but the last 12 minutes, I think, 10 minutes, and we did a good job defensively. That's one thing we need to work on, and I think that carried over to Linfield a little bit. We controlled that game. We kind of let them get a few chances at the end. And that was one thing we had to get better at. And I think yesterday was an example of us staying on the front foot and getting forward and not falling back and getting into our half. And we did a great job yesterday there to see that game out, the best that we've done really this season. Yeah.
And the strength of the team is really built on the strength of the defense. I mean, 8 shutouts in 11 games, and scoring 1 goal usually is not enough, but with this team it has been for the last few games. We've got a few 1-0s. I mean, what do you put that defensive strength down to? How do you get the players to work as a unit to keep those clean sheets?
Well, I think it's it starts with our captains Jack and Graham in the back there with bringing their leadership from last year. Like last year, we had a great defensive team, and we had to have guys kind of step up and fill some other roles in there. And the young guys played those spots. I mean, Spencer played last year, Kellen played last year. Ronan had varsity minutes last year. Luke was right in the offensive playing minutes. So so them stepping in just really solidified with that core of our leadership that we had on the defensive part. So, this year more than any other, I'm looking at how we're going to score goals rather than how we're going to defend. Because I know we were already defending. So it's a different mentality for me as a coach, which I've loved doing.
Do you like to play? You sort of played a flat back 4 sometimes. Other times you sort of Jack Fellness just sits in front, and you sort of more maybe a 3. Do you adjust that based on the opposition, or what's your preference like in terms of how you set up there?
Yeah, it'd be nice just to go out. Like I like a 4-4-2 because if you have good enough guys in the back, and the outside wing backs can get forward, and then you can hold the ball when it gets forward with your 2 strikers. A little bit better than you can with 1 guy up there, especially at this level. But it will depend on what the other team brings. If they have a good striker, we got to figure out maybe we're marking him a little bit more, and that's something I'll have Jack or Graham do. Then play a little bit deeper, so we're not getting played over the top. If some guy's has a burner out there, we'll play a guy a little bit deeper. Man, Essex, we played someone a little bit deeper in that game. We had actually Kellen playing deep that game because they had a good forward, and we had to make sure he wasn't going to burn us early. So we'll change around. We've messed around with 3 in the back too. It's nice to have 3 in the back, and you put a couple defensive mids in front of them and get a little more forward too at times. So I'll kind of mess around with it depending on who we're playing and what I think is going to happen. The other day I got to give Coach Salazzo some props. He's like, "What do you think about doing a 4-4-2 to hold the ball a little more up front?" And I'm like, you know what? We are missing that. The one thing I was worried about a little bit is losing something in the midfield. A couple early games we lost some in the midfield, and we had to make adjustments to having the extra man in the midfield that we were getting beat with a little bit. Going back to the Pawtucket game in particular, I remember I had to bring Jack up into the midfield to help out there, and so we were going to keep an eye on that. That happened yesterday, and it didn't. We controlled the pitch, controlled the game, so we were fine playing with just the 2 in the midfield then.
Yeah, I was going to ask about yesterday's game. It was a great win against Central Catholic, and they were a strong team. And I think it was the first time you played almost like a traditional 4-4-2, and you played Will through the middle with Brady, and then obviously you've got a lot of wingers. Zach's been playing great recently, Jamie on the left. So you're thinking that sort of pushing two guys more further up, because in the previous games maybe you had one guy up top and then one just behind. Which way do you think you want to play moving forward, or are you just going to mix it up?
I think how we played yesterday is what I'd like to do, because it's the best game we played. A complete game. We kept the pressure on, and our subs kept the pressure on when they came in. Everyone that came off the bench, I think we applied more pressure at one point than the starters did in that game for about 10 minutes or so. There was what they did, which got them some more minutes to stay in the pitch for sure. And you could feel they were going to score. Kept them in a little bit longer, and they did score. So that was awesome. So I think I like staying with the 4-4-2, but we always switch it up when we need to. And now we've practiced so many different ones and played in some big games with a one up front or five in the mid, that we can switch when we need to convert. And we have enough talented kids who know the game, know how to play, that we can switch pretty much on the fly, I think, right now, if we need to.
The depth of the squad has really come to the fore. I mean, there's so many players who've stepped up in certain games, like Bovey's had a really strong game, won you the game. Yesterday, Kalen stepped up again. Kids are stepping in, who may not be regular starters and doing really well. And that gives you a lot of flexibility, but it also gives you like a selection headache, right, as a coach, if you've got 20 kids who can all play. And so how do you get that right balance in, like, giving these kids enough game time and also picking the right team for each game?
I think it will depend on the formations. I get an idea of what I think according to formation is on who fits into those spots better. I'll have some kids that I think are more better underneath the forward players, and if we're playing in a game like that, those kids will play a little bit more because we're playing underneath a little bit with those guys. If we're playing a little more pushing up on the outside and pushing the forwards up there, I have an impression of who's the guys that are going to step up and push forward a little bit more. So I will change according to that. Again, going back to yesterday, I thought we had a pretty great rotation with the 4-4-2. Everyone got a breather except our two center backs in that game, and a good amount of rest across the whole field. A couple other guys I want to get in the game too that didn't yesterday, who can help us still. So I need to make sure that's going to happen moving forward too, because everyone's good enough to play, but sometimes it's hard to get everybody in certain games. And sometimes when people play good, you want to keep them on the field too. Right. If guys are having a good run out there, you're really going to pull them off, in a 1-0 game when they're the guys who might get the goal, which in yesterday's case, I'll say it was Grady. He stepped in and he just missed pitching, putting one back in the net in a far post run, and we scored in that same shift that he was out there too. So it's like he kept him on the pitch a little bit longer because he deserved to play out there. Yeah.
You've had a few memorable victories this season, the 1-0s against Linfield and obviously North Reading with 10 men, the late win against Pentucket. As a coach, which game has given you the most satisfaction as a coach so far in the 11 that you've won?
It was yesterday, because it was a complete game. Scoring 2 goals against Pentucket, towards the end of the game was good, but you looked at all the things we got to improve on when that happens. Yeah. And the North Reading game, we still had to improve on a lot of things too, even though you win with 10 men, which is, against a good team, it's not easy to do and carry the play. So, those 2 games certainly stand out, but yesterday was a complete game all around, and we didn't fall back and play defensive. We kept it on them right up until, kind of a questionable free kick call at the end, I think. Other than that, they didn't really have a chance to score on us. Beating Linfield's always good because it kind of cleared us above them in the conference. So that was a big win too for the program, I think.
Yeah. You've known a lot and coached a lot of these kids for over 10 years now, and you set up the East Coast soccer clinics, and you've known them for a long time. It must feel great to see all of that sort of long-term planning pay off with this squad of players that you're working with now.
No, there's no question. We were just talking about our practice today, winning the Danvers tournament way back when they're like U12 kids, and it really attributes to the parents too, though, because the parents were invested in the kids. They were traveling them, they were doing the practices with them. The youth programs were still good with all these guys coaching for the years. That rubs off on the kids. So when I'm stepping in doing things, the parents are right there doing it all with me. They're bringing the kids, they're coaching them the other 70% of the time and stuff too, on the field. And I think that is really what led to the next step of all these kids being so good. And they had the experience of playing in these tournaments and stuff that we did, experience of getting in the Pingree finals and tournaments with the youth soccer, and a lot of kids are playing club too. So in addition to starting doing some of the East Coast stuff, they're playing with the clubs, so they're getting more touches and on the ball, and we got like 20 something good players now that can play because of that.
You got 7 games of the regular season to go, but the postseason is going to pose some tougher challenges for the team. So are there things you want to work on with this group now to kind of get yourselves ready for the state championships?
I think one thing is staying focused right now. because you know, when you start winning games like we have, you can't let stuff slip away, you know, and take it for granted. Like we have Georgetown at home tomorrow. We need to make sure that we come out to play and we take advantage of what we have right now to stay undefeated. You know, you can't have a good win against Linfield and a good win against Central and turn around and come out and not play against the Georgetown tomorrow. You know, so you got to take advantage of those games, and I think you know, keep moving forward, like getting our rotation down, you know, and how we're going to press teams offensively. You know, talking a little bit more defensively too, because right now we're defending really well, but what about when we're playing Beverly, who has 2 kids looking to play Division I college? How are we going to defend against them? Which is what we're going to see in the tournament. You know, we saw a little bit of yesterday against Central. They had a really good player up front, and you know, he was difficult for us in the first half. I think we solved it in the second, but the first half he made it a little bit difficult for us. So we're going to start seeing that talent. So we got to figure out how we're going to deal with that talent defensively across the pitch, across the field too.
Yeah. Makes sense. And you know, I was looking at Max Preps today. We're currently 12th in the Massachusetts rankings. Is that the highest we've ever been? And I don't know where that ranks.
Yeah, we're the highest. We've been in the state for that, for Division III and for our state too. Yeah.
That's great. Well, you know, good luck for the rest of the season. I just, you know, have you got a message for the fans? We've got the big ALS game coming up in next weekend. Just any comments to make, you know, for the fans? Get them out there, get them watching the kids. This is a great team.
Yeah, we're hoping, like, you know, right now we're starting to we're winning a lot of games, and people are getting interested in us. You've seen some kids from the school come and support us yesterday at afternoon game, which usually doesn't happen too often. You know, usually it's the night games. This is an opportunity to see one of the better teams in the state play. So, you know, come out. You want to get your kids out there and see this game. ALS Cup is always an awesome take. The girls are going to be fighting for first place. They're right tied with Pentucket right now, so that's going to be a huge game early on. In our game against Pentucket, they've had the upper hand over the course of coaching here, so we're trying to get one back on them for sure, in the ALS Cup in particular. And it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, you know, in a great cause too. We raise money for ALS. We've raised got thousands of dollars now over the course of the tournament, and we also started a scholarship, so kids get scholarships from the program too.
Coach Bleau, thanks so much. I know I'm speaking for all the parents, but I'm enjoying watching this team play and the success they're having, and I hope it continues and we go on and have a good run into the state championships.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I appreciate your recording this stuff. All the new little things you put on, the clips have been awesome and stuff like that. I know I get up looking forward to checking them out in the day to start my day out, so good stuff.
Thanks.
Blue